My name is Guy Kawasaki, and I'll tell you something. I love Canada. Like from the moment you clear customs and there's Tim Hortons right there. I mean, I love Canada. And I'll tell you something honestly that I have never met a Canadian I didn't like. I cannot say it about America. I'm so happy to be here. The last time that I was in Vancouver was for the Olympics, and I had a great time at the Olympics. I'm a huge hockey fan, and so I got to go to a lot of games, and I also saw speed skating, and it was a fabulous time that I had in Vancouver. So I have a very big warm spot in my heart for Vancouver, and I've been to there's some like trout kind of preservation thing, so I got in the water with the trout and all that. And I just loved it. So I'm so happy to be here. And now that I have a Nexus card, I can just get right into your country, so that helps too. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to be a remarkable innovator, okay? And let's start here with this slide. So I have this podcast called Remarkable People. It's about 5 years old now. And I have truly interviewed remarkable people. If you think about sort of what it takes to be a podcaster, you need access to remarkable people. You need the background to know what to ask them. And then you really need the courage to ask them what you should ask them. And I think if you drew those three circles, I'm in the middle of those three. So that's what I do. And I have had people like this. So in the upper left-hand corner is Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall was my first guest. Next is Brandon Chastain. That's that moment when she whipped off her jersey, at the World Cup. Next is Mark Rober. Mark Rober, for those of you over 30, may not know who he is. Mark Rober makes the exploding shipping boxes and the Squirrel Olympics. Very famous for Gen Z. That's Steve Wozniak on the bottom left corner. He's playing Segway polo. That's what rich tech Silicon Valley people do. Then there's Neil deGrasse Tyson. You can't see her because she's blocked by your logo. But that's Margaret Atwood. Margaret Atwood lives near Toronto. Man, it was an act of God to get an interview with her. Her people would not let me close to her. I had to defy a lot of rules to get to her. And believe it or not, just so you Canadians have just one more thing to be proud of. Margaret Atwood dropped the first F-bomb in my podcast. Now, you want me to tell you the whole story?
Yeah.
Because, well, it will involve me dropping an F-bomb.
All right.
Is that okay? I don't want to face any issues going through customs tonight. Okay, so I'm interviewing Margaret Atwood, and I said, Margaret, so tell me about your writing processes. Do you use Microsoft Word, or do you use a fountain pen? How do you write? So she tells me how she writes, and I say, okay, so Margaret, when you have your draft, you just send it to your editor, and your editor just takes it, no changes, just loves what you do. She says, well, God, before I send it to my editor, I send it to people who are similar to the characters in my book. So I get a reality check, And she said, so once I had this young male in one of my books, and I sent him the manuscript, and he calls me back and he says, God, Margaret, people don't say, what in fuck? They say, what the fuck? So Margaret, you need to change your manuscript. So I was just stunned that of all people, Margaret Atwood drops the first F-bomb. I thought it would be Gary Vaynerchuk, but no, Margaret Atwood beat her. So that was a great, if any of you know Margaret Atwood, my God, it's kind of scary how accurate she is about dystopia happening. She's fantastic. The next person is Stacey Abrams. Maybe she'll be president of the United States one of these days. I hope so. You know what? If Donald Trump gets reelected, I'm moving to Canada. Okay, so I'm going to live in Torfino, and I'm going to surf every day in Torfino. But I just learned that you got to fly to Torfino. I thought you could just like live in Vancouver and just like, walk to Torfino. It's not so easy. And then the last person in the bottom right corner is Bob Cialdini. Bob Cialdini is the father of influence. So he wrote a book called Influence. And let me tell you something. Every one of you should read that book by Bob Cialdini. If you want to learn how to influence and persuade people, Bob Cialdini's book is required reading. And when an author tells you to read somebody else's book, there is no higher form of praise, okay? Bob Cialdini. So anyway, these are the kinds of guests we've had. Now we've had about 225 episodes, which means there's 250 hours of recordings. And believe it or not, I am deaf. Because I'm deaf, I use a cochlear implant. And a cochlear implant, for those of you who do not know about it, it takes you from being deaf to being lousy. It doesn't take you from deaf to good. So FYI, after this event, if you come up to me, you start talking to me, and I can't quite, respond to you intelligently, it's not because I'm stupid, it's because I'm deaf. And I'm telling you, it's much easier to fix deafness than stupidity. I have learned that. So anyway, now we have 250 hours, 5,000 pages of transcripts, and we figured out that people they're not going to listen to that long of stuff, and they're not going to read 5,000 pages. So what we did is we took those 250 hours and 5,000 pages, we took it down to the book that you have in front of you. So that book you can read that in 8 hours, and it has about 170 pages, and it has 88 tactics. So all of these tactics are geared towards how to help you make a difference and be remarkable. I'm the author of 16 books, so I know this process very well. Many business books, they take 250 pages to explain one concept, right? So if you do something for a really long time, you can really make a fast decision. Boom, that's one book, right? So you can get the early adopters, but the hard part is to cross the chasm and get Main Street to buy it. Boom, that's another 250 pages. So we wrote this for Gen Z because 88 topics in 170 pages means 2 pages per topic. And I believe in headings. I love headings, and I love bullets. So those of you, and I hope you all have a book, look at it. There's a lot of headings. Every heading begins with an active verb, and every heading has sections with bullets, because this is extremely tactical and practical. This is not one of those kind of visionary self-help books. This is tactical. So this is going to be a tactical speech about how to be a remarkable innovator, okay? And it's the best I can do to help you to change the world and make the world a better place. I use a top 10 format for all my speeches. By the way, you guys in the back, this thing says 10:59, and I'm trying to figure out, what is 10:59? That's not the time. It cannot be that's the remaining minutes. So I have no idea what that means. It's just FYI, if I'm running short or long, it's your fault. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so I use a top 10 format, and I'll tell you why. As a tech person, I've had a tech degree, a tech career for 40 years. So I've literally seen hundreds of tech speakers. And I'll tell you, there are 2 things about tech speakers. First, they all suck. And secondly, they go long. And that is a deadly combination. Because if you suck and you're short, it's okay. And if you're great and you're long, it's okay. But sucking and going long is the absolute worst combination, right? And so I figured out that if you use the top 10, at least the audience can figure out how much longer you suck, because they know I have 10 points. So I have 10 points. All right, let's start. So one thing I noticed about my 250 remarkable people is that every stinking one of them has adopted a growth mindset. This growth mindset, it's based on another book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. Also required reading for you. Carol Dweck professor at Stanford University. And she basically says there are two kinds of mindsets in the world: fixed mindset and growth mindset. Fixed mindset means that you think that you cannot gain new skills, or even worse, if you are accomplished at something, it means that you cannot deteriorate because you're set, you're fixed. The growth mindset means that you can learn new skills, you can try new things. And every one of the people in my book and in my podcast have a growth mindset. And I'll tell you something, I'll give you some info. Now it says 11:01, I'm even more confused. So now, every one of them had a growth mindset. And personally, I'll give you two stories from my life. I took up hockey at the age of 44, which is roughly 34 years too late. I'll tell you something, we went to a Sharks game. This NHL team we have in California. And that was a joke, but that's okay. I thought I was in Toronto for a second. Anyway, so we take our kids to this hockey game, and they love, because hockey, of all places in the world, hockey is just this beautiful combination of, it's like ballet combined with war, combined with physics, right? I mean, what a combination. So at 44, I take up hockey because my wife told me, I don't want you to be like a typical Silicon Valley father at your kids' games and you got your BlackBerry, another Canadian product, you got your BlackBerry. Every once in a while you look up when they're on the ice, but mostly you're just answering your BlackBerry. I want you involved with their life. So I listened to my wife. I said, all right, I'll learn hockey too. I'll tell you how little I knew about hockey. So I didn't even know you had to sharpen your skates the first time. What do I know? I mean, I'm from Hawaii. We have no blonde hockey in Hawaii. We have shave ice. We don't have ice hockey. So I fall in love with hockey. Now at 60, my daughter decides she loves surfing. So I'm 60, she's like 17 or something. So I take up surfing at 60, which is 50 years too late. And I'm telling you that's evidence of a growth mindset. If you can take up hockey at 44 and surfing at 60, you have a growth mindset. And I think that's the most important thing. Now, there's several kinds of ways of having a growth mindset. Some people, like Jane Goodall, she starts as a kid and loves animals, and then she proceeds for the next some 85 years to love animals. She's on that growth on the same curve. Loves animals, loves ecology, loves the environment. There are other people who change careers. And I'll give you a great example. So I was looking for examples of people who changed careers, who made just radical career changes. And so I asked ChatGPT, my research assistant, give me examples of people who made big career changes. And it tells me Julia Child. Like, what? I thought Julia Child must have grown up in a French family or had a French au pair, or, French something. She's been French food her whole life. But no, Julia Child, until her mid-30s, was a spook. She worked for the OSS. The OSS is the thing that became the CIA. And then she moved to Paris and fell in love with French food. So Julia Child started as a spook and became a French chef. That's the growth mindset. So step number one, embrace the growth mindset. Step number two is you need to embrace vulnerability. This is the flip side of the growth mindset. So if you take up hockey at 44 or surfing at 50, you have embraced the vulnerability. I can't tell you how many times I got hurt, how many times I got humiliated. It helps to have your skates sharpened the first time. There's a lot of stories like that. But embracing vulnerability. Vulnerability comes from a Latin word meaning wound. So embracing vulnerability means that you are willing to get wounded because that's the cost of the growth mindset. If you're going to learn a new sport, you're going to learn a new skill, you will get hurt. It may be mental, it may be physical, but you will get hurt. You have to wrap your mind around the fact that you will be vulnerable. If you start a company, you will be vulnerable. If you don't want to be vulnerable, don't start a company. Just keep working for TELUS or whoever you're working for. Number three is that in the creation of great innovation, I have two theories for you. So one is you go and be. This is the Toyota theory. The Toyota theory is, let's say something's wrong with the factory. So you can read all the executive reports, the analysis. McKinsey will charge you $5 million to tell you what's wrong. You can read that. Or you can actually go to the factory floor and see what's happening on the factory floor. Now, I think even better than Toyota and going and seeing is going and being. So this means that you actually work on the factory floor. To use the Toyota example, it's one thing to go and see how a family uses a minivan. 2 kids, 2 strollers, 2 baby bags, 2 baby seats. That's one thing. Even better is if you go and be the minivan user with 2 kids, 2 strollers, 2 baby bags, and 2 car seats. I'll give you another example from the pharmaceutical business. My friend Martin Lindstrom had a Italian pharmaceutical company client, and they, quote, wanted to get closer to the customer. Okay, just let me give you a piece of advice. Never, ever say, get closer to the customer. That is such a tired phrase. That is a signal for McKinsey to charge you $5 million. That's what I say. I'm stupid, charge me $5 million. Okay. So, going and seeing what he did is he took the executives of this firm. I hope McKinsey is in the sponsors. Well, they sponsored the first one. They weren't around for the second one. Of course, next year you're going to have a different keynote, so that's okay. So, Martin Lindstrom took the executives of the pharmaceutical company into a room and he made them breathe through straws. And at the end of what was frustrating for them, he told them, you are pharmaceutical companies. One of your products is for asthmatics. This is what it's like to have asthma. You're breathing through a straw, 24/7, 365. That's how you appreciate and get closer to the customer. Go and be the customer. Number 4, in Silicon Valley, we draw a rough dichotomy in the types of innovations there are. There are vitamins and there are painkillers. Vitamins, they supplement your life. They make you feel younger and sexier and skinnier and hotter and all that. They're supplements. They make it better. It's all mental, really, but they make it better. On the other hand, there are painkillers. Now, I have migraine headaches. And how many of you have migraine headaches in this audience? So you know what I'm talking about, right? When you get a migraine headache, it is like somebody's pounding a nail in your head. You're dizzy. Your vision is all screwed up. And you will do anything to get rid of a migraine headache. So imagine the difference in compelling selling between a migraine headache and a vitamin supplement. That's why I'm telling you. If you want to get funded, if you want to make a difference, if you want to change the world, figure out how to alleviate pain. There's money in pain, okay? Alleviate pain. Number 5 is that you work backwards from the customer. This means that, yes, you may have a certain expertise, your organization may have a certain way of doing things, you may be very successful. And that leads to this concept of, well, we like to do this, we're good at doing this, we've been doing this for a while. Now we just have to get people to buy what we like to do. Working backwards is the opposite. The opposite is to say what the customers want, and then we got to make our skill set match what they need, not they match our skill set. So I'll give you a negative example. So Kodak, believe it or not, Kodak in 1975, you tell me I have 10 minutes? I'm on number 5. Wow. This This is like Ted here. Jeez, okay. It's because I told Margaret that story. Work backwards. Kodak invented digital camera in 1975, right? Now, how many of you use Kodak cameras in this audience? Like, you do? There's 2 of you? In all of Canada, there's 2 Kodak cameras. Wow. Anyway, there goes my argument. But anyway, Kodak was in the business. They thought of themselves as a chemical company, right? We make chemicals. We put chemicals on film, chemicals on paper. So we got to get people who want to put chemicals on film and chemicals on paper. But Kodak, working backwards, should have figured out, the business we're in is we help our customers preserve memories. We are in the memory preservation business, not the chemicals business. And so if you invented digital photography as Kodak, then guess what? You work backwards and you figure it's much better for people to preserve memories with a digital sensor than chemicals on paper or chemicals on film. And Kodak today would be Sony, or they would be in the digital camera business if they only had worked backwards instead of forwards for what they were already doing. Number six is you have to get beyond Eureka. Many people think that the hard part is the idea, and once you have this brilliant idea, the rest is easy. I would disagree. The older I get, the more I think that the challenge is to get beyond the idea. And I'll tell you something, I think the most important thing you can do to get beyond Eureka is to create a prototype. I could tell you all about how to make great pitches and great slides, all right? But I'm telling you, a demo, a prototype, is worth 1,000 slides. Focus on the prototype. Focus on the demo, not the pitch. Get beyond Eureka. Number seven is you have to plant many seeds. You know what, with Apple, we thought we had a spreadsheet database and word processing machine in the mid-80s. We were wrong, we're 0 for 3 there. It was all this PageMaker that saved Apple, created a great industry called desktop publishing. But nobody at Apple knew what desktop publishing was. Desktop publishing from all this PageMaker, it was a seed that took root and bloomed. And it was because we seeded thousands of companies with Macintoshes because we wanted them to create a bunch of different things. And if we had just focused on spreadsheet, database, and word processor, Macintosh and Apple would have died. So you have to plant a lot of seeds. If you want to have mighty oaks, you need to plant a lot of acorns. A lot of acorns. You cannot predict which acorn will be the oak. You need to plant many seeds. Number eight is my plea to you. Please sweat the small stuff. And let's take it on a highly personal level. If you want to be remarkable, and make a difference, there are people who are making judgments about you all the time. And I'm sure we all do it. We make these micro judgments. We may not even be conscious of the judgments we're making. And they're tiny, tiny little things, right? So I'll give you some examples. How many of you have an email address at AOL.com or at Yahoo.com? The same people who use the Kodak. I don't know about you, but if I see somebody who pitches me and says, my address is such and such at AOL.com, like that's a write-off. How about your avatar? Is your avatar a crumped up picture from your sorority party, from a wedding reception? Or did you take the 60 seconds to turn on your iPhone, put it on portrait, and take a shot just for your avatar? Do you have a signature in your email? At the bottom of your email, do you say who you are, your title, your email address, and your phone number? Do you make it easy to get in contact with you? Do you have good email subject lines that do not say, this offer is limited, click to respond now, this is urgent, right? I'll tell you what, I think a subject line is one of the most important skills you can learn to get ahead in this world. The subject line is a window into your soul, and it is the key that opens the door. I'll tell you something right now. If you want me to read your email, you send me a subject line that says, I loved your talk in Vancouver. I guarantee you I'll open your email. Or I loved your book, Think Remarkable. 2 ways, I will always open that email, okay? Focus your subject line. Sweat the small stuff. And this even means things like, for crying out loud, go and see your customer. Use the app. Use your app. See, if you're saying, I want all our customers to verify who they are, so we're going to use a CAPTCHA system, right? And the CAPTCHA system says, well, click on every picture that contains a motorcycle. And I don't know about you, but I have never, ever been able to do one of those things the first time. That's the small stuff. All those little things are creating micro judgments on you. You need to get past that. That's number 8. Number 9. Number 9 is you make yourself indispensable to your customer. This is like the painkiller theory. So the person who talked to me about indispensability was Andrew Zimmern. He's the guy who does the bizarre food show where he goes all over the world eating bizarre foods like rotting sharks in Iceland and teriyaki guinea pigs in Peru and that kind of stuff. And he told me, Guy, he was 30 and he had 3 internships at once. Seriously, Andrew Zimmern was interning at 3 places at once. And he said, Guy, the key to my career is that I made myself indispensable. When I was at the TV station and they were laying cable, I volunteered to lay cable. When they were putting up lights, I volunteered to put up lights. When they needed someone to go through hours of video, I volunteered. He made himself indispensable. So I said, Andrew, give me some tactics. How do you make yourself indispensable? He said 2 things. Keep showing up. Most people don't keep showing up. Just showing up sets you off from 80% of people. And the second thing he told me is, do the shit work that nobody else wants to do. So if you show up and you do the shit work, I guarantee you, you're going to be indispensable. And indispensable people, they get funding. They get more responsibility. They get more opportunities. Make yourself indispensable. And I listen, I know all about this like work-life balance theory, and I'll be the only person who'll tell you work-life balance is overrated and a myth. If you want to be a successful innovator, you're going to have to put your desires for work-life balance 50-50. You're going to have to put that aside. You are going to have to grit it out. In the words of Angela Duckworth, it's about grit. You're going to have to make a sacrifice. I think that life is basically divided in 3 parts. The first third is you're overworked and underpaid. The second third is you're underworked and overpaid. And in the third, you pay back. That's how life goes for remarkable people. Make yourself indispensable. The 10th thing is that so much of us in tech, we focus on making the right decision. We're using big data and LLMs and AI, or we think we're going to make this right decision. We spend days and days and months making this perfect decision, because once we make this perfect decision, everything else is easy. My experience is it's quite the opposite. That instead of focusing on making the right decision, you should focus on making your decision right. Take your best shot with the understanding that it might be wrong. It's not optimal, but once you make that decision right. Because I would make the case that a right decision, there's several right decisions. It's not one perfect one that's right. Everything else won't work. There are lots of possible right decisions, but then the question becomes implementation. Can you make that decision right? I'm going to show you a video now. It's a surfing video. And let me explain what happens. So in surfing, much of the time you're spent in the water and you're looking out and you're trying to figure out, is this the right spot to sit? Is this the right wave to catch? Is it the right time to turn? Is it the right direction to go? Lots of little decisions. You're trying to make your decision, and you're trying to make this decision perfect so you catch the perfect wave. I'm going to show you a video where this woman is in a surf competition. Of course, she's looking out, she's looking for the perfect wave, sitting in the right place, surfing at the right time, taking the right direction. But all hell breaks loose. She sat in the wrong place. The wave came in the wrong way. The wave could have crushed her, but watch what happens. Here she is. She's trying to figure out where's the right place. Uh-oh, I'm not in the right place. I'm going to get smashed. Now she's riding this wave, but what does she do? She stands up, and she gets a ride out of it. And she even is going to get a little cross step at the end. This, I think, is a metaphor for life. She made the wrong decision, but she made this decision right. And that is the key to making a difference and being remarkable. So 2 last slides before you freak out and pull me off. First, you all have this book. In fact, you really do have it. Can you turn the lights on? I want to take a picture of it. I never had an audience with so many people holding my book up. So let's just, let's see. How can we do this? Let's see. There we go. Okay. Thank you. All right. So, that's okay. So, first of all, don't be scared. It's just a book. And then the last slide. I promise you, this is the last slide because I want to fit in with this conference. I'm going to put up my own QR code. And you see how my QR code is colorful and beautiful. That's my remarkable QR code. So if you are not a reader or you don't want to spend the money, although you're all getting one, but anyway, there are people who would like to take an online course. So with my company, Canva, we created a free online course about how to be remarkable. So this is an online course that supplements the book. Well, actually, if you had the book or the online course, you would be okay. The online course has 9 sections, and the book has it has much more, but as a good start, this is a free online course about how to be remarkable. So that's all I have for you. I hope you be remarkable. As I keep telling you, I love Canada, and I just want to thank you for this opportunity. And you know what? I know this is kind of strange, but at least this is one American. I remember how you helped us with the hostage in Iran. And I will never forget that your country came through for my country. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's give it up for these legends. That was amazing.